everybody. Welcome. This is Wrestling with the Future. We are live and we are on the air. Yeah, you heard me right. Wrestling with the Future's back. You didn't think it was going to happen? Big Daddy had a surprise. Speaking of surprises, I got a great surprise for you tonight. Got a guest. His name is Adam Perilloux. Adam's a really interesting cat. He has a promotion. He founded a promotion here. It's called Warrior Pro. You're going to hear a lot about it. It's really interesting, though. It's kind of a throwback to the good old days, and Adam and I are going to talk about the good old days a lot tonight, and kayfabe and psychology, and what wrestling is, and more importantly, what wrestling is not. But before Adam and I engage you in that conversation, Adam, how the hell are you, kid?
I'm doing great, brother. Yeah, absolutely fabulous.
Let's talk a little bit about modern day wrestling. I'm sure you follow the product. You've got the AEW, Ring of Honor, WWE, among New Japan, of course, among many of the larger groups, and a plethora, more than abundant, independent scene. You are a big part of the independent scene and making quite a name for yourself. You're following wrestling today. When you're looking, forget that you're a promoter and forget that you're an owner. Put your fan hat on. As a fan, what are you not seeing that you want to see?
That's kind of the way that I look at wrestling, as promoting it as a fan. But one of the things that I'm seeing that I don't want to see is the spot monkeys, and I mean the scripts. It don't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me at all.
You said the magic word to me. That's a button word with me. It's a hot button word with me. The word script, and I was, you hit that word a lot sooner than I thought you were going to. You did right from the gate here. You hit the word script. There is, oh man, there's a lot I don't like, but there are two things that really irritate the hell out of me: script and prefabricated promos. I believe from old school, if you're going to do a promo, it's got to come from the heart. It's got to come off the cuff. If you flub it up, just go with it, because it's natural and organic and it has to go. But you've got guys now, Adam, and I'm really curious to hear your insight on this. You got guys now that have to memorize scripts like an actor in a movie. Like they've got to memorize lines and dialogue, and it's not like wrestling anymore. Why don't they just call it like film or television? Because it's not wrestling anymore.
Right. That's where I'm at. I feel like it's wannabe actors trying to be wannabe wrestlers. That's the way I
can't argue with that. Yeah, brother, I got to tell you, I've had this discussion on our old show. We talked about this a lot. And I have a problem with that. When you take away the spontaneity and you creatively tie the hands of the guys that are supposed to be your money earners, the guys that are supposed to be making you bank, you got a problem. You got a big problem. Adam, just think about this, and I'm going to prove my point using you. Imagine Hulk Hogan or The Rock being told, scripted, what they had to say. Can you imagine the state of wrestling today?
Oh, God.
It would be a very different sport.
Yeah, it definitely would. I don't think we would. Oh, man. You think it's bad now? Imagine what it would have been if they were already doing it back then.
You made my point for me. Exactly. So, Adam took off.
Yeah,
there he is. Hey, we got Adam back. Here you go.
I don't know what was up.
I was getting scared there for a second.
Good old satellites.
Yeah. Well, look, it's live. Anything can happen.
Right.
So here's the deal. Let's talk about Warrior Pro, and I want to talk about how Warrior Pro, which is a new organization. You already have something like 2,500 followers, as I understand.
Actually, we are as of today we're 6,000.
Oh my God,
836, I think. That was over Labor Day weekend.
Damn, boy, was I sleeping. Wow, man. I checked. The last time I checked, I saw like 25 and change. And man, 6,000. Holy crap. Let me ask you a question. Well, let's take that as an example. You have to attribute that kind of noise, that kind of interest to something. So what's the hot button on it? What's the interest?
That people want to see they want to see wrestling fixed. It's like when I see Tony Khan and them and they say they want to cater to the fans. The problem is you're listening to the fans, but you're listening to the wrong fans. You're listening to the politic fans. You're listening to the SJW fans, the people who wanna put politics in the wrestling, change it, make it to their stuff. But you're missing the legit fans, the fans who actually cared about wrestling back when the NWO was running, back whenever you had JYD in the ring, Dusty Rhodes was taking on. Those don't exist no more because they don't want nothing to do with the sports entertainment stuff.
And I can't argue with that. In fact, I'm going to even expand upon it. And I think, using an example, you'll see behind me, there's a photo of Jim Cornette and myself.
Yep.
Jim Cornette, it may surprise you to know this, and you probably already know it. Jim Cornette was a guy that thinks a lot like you do. Very much in tune with make wrestling as real as possible without it being an all-out shoot fight. Because there's a place for shoot fights. Okay? It's called MMA. It's called bare knuckle fighting. There's leagues for that. And there's, organized legitimate sports.
Yep.
Professional wrestling, by its definition, has always been kind of over the top. It's always been spectacular.
Right.
But that does not mean, and I want people to hear what I'm saying, that does not mean that there haven't been fights, real fights along the way. We know there have been. We've witnessed them. Okay? But did it kill the sport? Did it decimate the industry? No. In fact, in a lot of ways, it gave even more credence and credibility to wrestling as a sport.
Yep.
So tell me where I'm wrong in saying that I support Warrior Pro. You're getting a lot of heat these days, and I want to talk a little bit about that. In fact, you're smiling because you know where I'm going. You're getting a lot more than just a little heat. Guys are coming down on you, brother. Can you explain to me and the viewers, is it justified? Is it warranted heat? Do you think that you've earned this kind of heat, or are they making maybe much ado about nothing?
I think
I'm really curious.
I'm okay with the heat because the people who give me the heat is the ones who are protecting the sports entertainment. They're not the ones protecting wrestling as a whole. So the ones I'm getting the heat from is the promoters and the wrestlers that like the entertainment style of wrestling that they got to date.
Yeah.
But as you see from our growth, the fans are on a whole different level. So,
yeah. You got some fierce fans. I will say that. You also have some fierce support among the boys. Yes. There is, however, and let's talk about this because you probably know better than I do the reason for the heat among certain groups of the boys, particularly people who may have worked for you previously or people who know you. You're getting a lot of negative press from a big section of the guys saying, hey, Adam, you're stepping over the line here There's a line in the sand and you just crossed it. So explain to them, did you cross it? And if you did, why?
I don't think I crossed it. I think the issue is that I called it out for what it was. For example, a few people that I spoke with, I called out like matches being predetermined, and that was a big no-no. Right, and that was a big no-no to them. But I read like 5 or 6 comments down the line.
Yeah,
one of their fans are calling wrestling fake. I was like, oh yeah, well, it's set up. That's what it is. But then whenever I call it, because I'm in the business, it's not supposed to be said. But I'm okay with taking that heat, because if I don't take it, then no one's ever going to fix this business, and it's just going to keep being a shit show it's at now.
Well, you didn't do anything, and I'm going to defend you on this one. You didn't do anything more than what Vince did. And by Vince, we're talking about, the all powerful, all great and powerful, Vincent of Oz.
Right.
Vince McMahon, many years ago, and I'll remember the day like it was yesterday, he came on television and said, no more good guys and bad guys. We are sports entertainment.
Right.
There's no more, baby face and heel. Well, if there's not, then what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, well,
the whole premise of wrestling was the good guy versus the bad guy, the heel and the baby face. And wrestling, and I want to remind people, if you forgot your history, because Angelo's like the history major in wrestling here, the guru, understand something. Professional wrestling came about during World War II. And why? It was to give men and women at home an outlet of venting their frustration. Their families, their loved ones were in the war. They were fighting. They were alone. They had no one, no companionship. Those wrestlers were their companions every Friday night or every Saturday night at the armory or at the high school gym, or in some cases at the big arena in your big city, if you were lucky enough to be in the big city. But a lot of these guys just wrestled in small towns all across the country. And they created this aura about pro wrestling as magical, as a mystique. You wondered, is it real? Is it fake? They look like they're hurting themselves. Now we know it's all bullshit because Vince told us it's bullshit.
Right.
Now, there's a young man comes along named Adam Perilloux and says, you know what? Vince peeled back the onion, but I'm going to put the fucking onion back together.
Yep.
So now, tell me, Adam, now that I put you on the hot seat, how are you going to put that onion back together?
It's easy. Basically, we undo what they did. We get wrestling back to being wrestling. I think the days of like cutting yourself, I think that's over with. All these death matches, I'm not fans of those. People bleeding AIDS all over the place and stuff.
The gimmick matches you're talking about?
Well,
yeah.
I mean, like some of it's okay, but as going back to Jim Cornette, one of the things I really agree with him on. I was listening to his podcast about a hardcore match. It don't make sense that you got light tubes and all that stuff underneath the ring, because that would normally be there. Yeah, it would not normally be there. So that's where we're going back. Is like if we have a hardcore match, it's whatever is there is what you get to use. It's not us bringing.
I have to confess, Adam, I live in the hardcore capital of the world, New Jersey.
Right.
CZW is based here in New Jersey. And for good or for bad, New Jersey gave birth to hardcore wrestling. I'm not real proud of it, but we also gave birth to some of the greatest superstars in the industry, among them King Kong Buddy Rogers, Jimmy Snuka, Tom Brandy. Let's see. Oh God, who else? Nikolai Volkov. Some of the greatest, Don Morocco. Some of the biggest stars in the business called New Jersey their home. but so does the necro butcher. So, take that for what take that for what's worth. But you make a valid point that people are. I think they're smarter than the fluorescent light tubes. I think they're smarter than the weed whacker gimmicks and the people. What's next? Setting off a bomb in the ring, or
I think they set someone's crotch on fire the other day. I was watching on Facebook.
how about the guy? And I have to blame the father and the son in Georgia. And you're familiar with this, Adam. I know you are. A kid in Georgia did a swanton off the second balcony of a shopping mall. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly
His father was the promoter. How demented do you have to be as a dad to say, it's okay, son, go ahead and do it. I'm approving it. What kind of father are you? Forget about what kind of promoter you are. What the hell kind of dad are you?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I know.
I have a problem with that.
Yeah, me too. We just got like a little tiny step, and my 3-year-old climbs up on the little banister thing. I get on her for doing that. So I damn well ain't gonna tell her to jump off of a 2-story balcony.
Exactly. So there's a fine line, however, now with Warrior Pro. I'm guessing, and I don't know for sure because you and I want to tell people, Adam and I have not discussed anything beforehand that we're talking about. So it's all organic, these conversations we're having. You and I have not discussed this, so I need to find out to what degree the realism factor is going to play in Warrior Pro. What is the basic philosophy of Warrior Pro? And among the people, worker-wise, who has expressed interest in coming to you and working for Warrior Pro?
Well, I tell you, when we first mentioned about it being real, the very first, I think the greatest comment I got was some guy said he watched my video whenever I was talking about it. I was like, if someone jumps over the top rope, you just better hope he catches you because we're not scripting those spots. And he wrote like, F that. So he's not coming to work for me. But actually, a lot of the people who reached out is people who wanted to be wrestlers, but they couldn't get around the sports entertainment deal. So that's why they end up going to like MMA or something, because they're like, they didn't like the deal where it's all sports entertainment scripted. As far as the real factor goes, we are full but light contact. So everyone's making contact whenever they hit. As far as like we have storylines for everyone that's wrote, but we do things a little bit different. It's a A, B, C, D, E storyline. So we don't know what storyline we're going with. That depends on the outcome of the match. Now, as stated,
so let me stop you there for just a second, because you said a couple of things that these two subjects alone we could do a podcast on. You said light but full contact, which I find interesting and intriguing, quite frankly, and storylines being organic and natural. So let's talk about that. Let's address the idea of full contact. How do you manage to have a guy, to use your words, light full contact? How do you do that without, like, in other words, can I ball up my fist and punch a guy in his mouth?
You can have a open or a clenched hand. Cannot have a full fist.
Okay. So let's decipher what some of the rules are. So go right ahead.
All right. So as the match starts, as you know, we alter some of the rules on purpose, so it could be legit and still be a wrestling show. So one of the rules is the bell don't ring, nothing happens until you shake hands and you lock up. So the collar and elbow, it's there by default.
Terrific.
Again, once submissions are applied, they're really applied. headlocks, all that good stuff. If you run and jump over the top rope, like pretty much what happens in the match is between the two guys who are there. Me as a promoter, I'll be sitting back wondering who's going to win.
So what I'm hearing is you're a fan of calling it in the ring. That's what I'm hearing.
That's where I learned whenever I got into wrestling. Let's
have that conversation. I want to have that conversation while it's fresh on my mind, because today, in fact, I had a conversation with a worker, and I said, again, I'm the old fart in the room here, talking to a 20-something kid about wrestling. And, of course, he's 22, so he knows more about wrestling than I do, okay? I'm 62, Junior. Wake the fuck up.
Yo.
So here's what he says. And I had to shake my head and almost laugh. It's so funny. It's laughable. I said, calling it in the ring, young man, presents you with many opportunities. You can go any way you want in that match. You can make it look like a straight up shoot fight if you want. If you and your guy that you're working agree to it, you can go fisticuff for 20 minutes if you want. Or you guys could play around acrobat for 20 minutes if you want, if that's what you feel you want to do. But the idea of someone giving you bullet points and a start and a finish, to me, that takes away all organic growth and spontaneity from a wrestling match. And if I'm wrong, then guess what, Adam? If I'm wrong, I'm going to be the old fart in the room.
Well, I'll be wrong too, because I believe the exact same thing. And like I said, and again, we're not doing predetermined outcomes, so whoever wins, it wins. And how that plays out is just like anything. I mean, most pinfalls are probably going to end up being like schoolboy roll-ups or submissions or something like that, because I doubt you're going to knock someone out. They're going to lay there and let you knock them out with a 5-star frog splash or something of that nature.
Here's the question that someone asked me, and I couldn't answer them. I said, I got to talk to Adam about this. I can't answer this question. He goes, what if you have two guys who don't agree on a finish? Do you step in then, and do you give a finish, or they just fight until there's a finish?
They got 15 minutes to figure it out before their time limit runs up, unless they got a 20 or 30-minute match. Okay. And if it goes to time limit, we do have judges there. And like I said, where we're full contact, we count miss hits, all that good stuff. So there's no someone pretending to sell their stuff. And we've set a rule where if you are the champion and it goes to time limit, you lose the belt by default. It goes to the other guy for running up to time limit.
That's interesting, Adam. I got a question for you that came from one of my listeners. They want to know: are the athletic commissions in states that still have athletic commissions? New Jersey does not. I will tell everyone in full disclosure. New Jersey, we were the first one to get rid of the commission, and I'll tell you later why. But right now, the question is for Adam. What about states that have commissions? How does this figure into that?
Well, I think we can still play as entertainment factor because we got storylines and all that good stuff. And we're not pursuing as a shoot fight. So I think we're still good on that spectrum. We can still go the wrestling route. As far as like Tennessee, I don't think they're licensed. We've got everything set up for Indiana. We went through all the paperwork. I just went to court a couple days ago, got the LLC for Warrior Pro. So, I mean, we're hitting all the corners like we need to be to get everything where it needs to take place, so we don't have no issues down the road.
There's an organization in Texas. I have a lot of friends who work for this organization. It's called SFW Fury in Texas. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I've heard it. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, SWF Fury. They were called SWE. Here's the interesting about the thing about these guys. they're kind of already doing what you're doing in some ways.
Right.
They of course don't allow full contact. They allow, open slaps, a clenched hand, but not a full balled up fist, of course. But kind of like the rules are, I don't want to say they're the same, but they're in line with what you're talking about. So why, if they're going strong, and they are going strong, I will tell you, why are you getting so much pushback for what you want to do? If
Because
there are already groups, let's be honest about it, Adam. This is not an original idea.
No,
But you're having trouble getting off the ground with certain people because for whatever reason, they've made you the poster boy of shoot fighting.
Yeah, I don't know what's a.
I don't know
shoot
why.
fight. Apparently, if it's not scripted, it's shoot fighting. But
Right? Yeah,
I
right.
guess that's where they got it. But I think where the difference lies is unlike a lot of people, and I'm not saying anyone specific, but I'm not afraid to call anyone out or anything out if I believe that's the issue, and that's kind of where we're at. Because like I see something, some other company had said something about it, and I was like, well, your stuff's predetermined, so can't be talking about us. We're doing this stuff for legit. And then they started talking about like they start going through all this legal stuff. And I was like, you a lawyer? And he's like, no, I'm a mixed martial artist. It's like it had nothing to do with anything we were talking about.
Yeah. It's interesting. I spoke at the beginning of the show about this being a hot button topic, and it really is. You're still getting a lot of pushback and a lot of heat, despite the fact that you've got more than 6,000 followers that have expressed interest in this. Given that fact, and I'm sure by the end of this show there'll be more than that.
Right.
But given that fact that they've got at least 6,000 people interested in this, there's got to be an audience for it. So those people who tell you, you're wrong, you're hurting the business, all this kind of, you know what you're hearing.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity now. I told you when we met, I'll give you an opportunity, and you take as much time as you want. This is your chance to set the record straight. Tell everybody what it is you intend to do, what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, what Warrior Pro really is, and not what they think it is. And tell everybody some of the people that you've got on your roster.
All right. Yeah. So Warrior Pro in itself as a whole is pretty much just taking wrestling back to its roots. Like I said, Dusty Rhodes, Bob Orton, JYD, even younger days, Patrick O'Connor, all them great ones. We're trying to get wrestling back to being authenticated. So that's where we set it with this. I don't understand why anyone would have a problem with wrestling being authenticated. You're trying to make it legit again. My brother used to tell me a long time ago, because before I got into wrestling, I used to tell him, oh, that stuff's fake. He said, yeah, but it's like a magic show. When you go there, the dude's going to do a trick. But what's magical about it is you're trying to figure out how that trick was done.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
So so you're watching these guys, and at the time you didn't know that it was told for Kurt Angle or Kurt Hennig to follow the Bret Hart or take a sharpshooter. Yeah. And then it's
interesting that you and it's very interesting that you equate it that way. We actually had, it's funny, we had a magician on the show, Bobby Borgia, and he made a great comparison between magic and wrestling. They're both an illusion. They both leaving you asking the question, how'd you do that? And in both cases, neither one of them are going to tell you how they did that. Or they used to not tell you how they did that. There was something that you and I, we referenced off the air just briefly.
Yep.
Kayfabe.
Yep.
Good old kayfabe. Again, I'm going to teach people a little history lesson. Where do you think the word kayfabe came from? It may surprise you.
Oh, kayfabe. That came from a carnival.
It actually didn't come from the carnival.
No?
The language carny came from the carnival. What came from kayfabe was a woman. There was a woman named Kay Fabiano. She was a lady wrestler back in the 40s and 50s. It was a woman that gave us kayfabe.
That is crazy.
Because it's named after her.
Right.
Kay Fabiano. They called her kayfabe. That was her name, literally her name. And she is the first one who started speaking in what you just referred to, carny, in the carnival language. That's where the carnival came in. It wasn't until that carnivals actually picked up wrestling. And they would have the good guy in the crowd. He was part of the crowd that you didn't know it at the time. And he would face the big, wrestler, circus strongman, right? And very often the guy in the crowd would beat the circus strongman. Right. They didn't know it at the time, but guess what? It's fixed. It's predetermined, folks. Guess what? That's wrestling. And that's what it was for all these years. So now, you've got people now asking, is it possible, given what Adam Perilloux wants to do, is it possible to introduce kayfabe back into wrestling, or is kayfabe dead and gone?
Well, that's where I'm at. I think you have to take kayfabe out of the equation now. So it's either you get what you see or you don't. So regardless, now where I said that is maybe I actually took kayfabe out the equation, or maybe I'm rebuilding kayfabe as we know it. So I could be telling you one thing, could be doing the other.
And that, my friend, is what a great promoter is supposed to do.
That is for the fans to decide whether they wanted to believe that we set it up or whether they want to come see if it's legit or not.
Well, I'll tell you who was real good at that. And it's going to surprise you. A guy named Vince McMahon Sr.
Yep.
Vince Sr. was excellent at that. His son seems to have forgotten everything, but then I forgot. His son is not a wrestling promoter. He's a television producer. That's the difference.
Big difference.
And Vince McMahon will tell you, he's not in the wrestling business. He's in the entertainment business. Yeah. And he'll tell you straight up. But I have to tell you that the lessons we need to learn from today, to glean from, are the lessons that history is teaching us. Because history is teaching us that what Adam is doing isn't new. It's not a secret. It's been around before. It's going to be around again. So learn to adapt, learn to manipulate, and enjoy it. And just realize that when you go to Warrior Pro, you're seeing a show that happens to be maybe a little bit more real than something else. Or maybe you don't know. Or it could be all a work.
You never know.
You know?
And
Perriloux could be a work. You know, this whole interview could be a giant work.
Whole thing could be. You never know.
Yeah, never know. So, my friend, let's talk a little bit about your background. How did you come to the world of wrestling?
Well, wrestling was never my thing. My thing was karate. So I studied martial arts. Yeah, seriously, I studied martial arts, and I was like, well, I think I was going to open a karate studio or whatever. And then my brother, my older brother, he got into wrestling. He got trained at some mom and pop training school in Mississippi. And we used to backyard wrestle all the time. So I'm on the trampoline, my brother goes to grab my foot. I just did his backflip to get away from it. And the promoter just happens to be there. He's like, you think you could do that in the ring? I said, well, I don't know. I'll try. And I was like, if they gonna train me for free, I ain't gonna cry about it. So, I got in there. I never paid it.
Free is always good.
free is beautiful. Free. But they trained me. I was trained by someone, David Hart, Jerry Lewis, Grimm, a few others that was there. So I have multiple training there. My uncle was in wrestling up in the early days. My dad, he worked for Mid-South for a while, putting up their rings and stuff.
Well, who are they? Anybody we would know?
My dad's Milton Perriloux. He's gone now, but back in the day, he would help do the ring crew stuff. My uncle, I don't know his wrestling name. We only have a photo of him in the ring, but I never could find out what his wrestling name was. I'd love to find out what it was. But
interesting. I'll tell you what, one day, if you'd like to send me a copy of that photo, I'll do some research for you. We'll find out.
Awesome. I would do that.
I got a lot of tentacles in the business.
Now, story goes with him is he came off the top rope, and that was back before you wore knee pads, and the ring didn't bounce. So
no, there were boxing rings back then.
Right. That's what I tell everybody. So when he came off the rope, he shattered both his kneecaps.
Yeah, they were hard.
Bruno
Sammartino and I will tell everybody, and everybody who watches the show knows, Bruno Sammartino and I were friends. We spoke. He knew me. I knew him. We had lunch and dinner together a few times. And he told a story about being body slammed night after night after night on those hard boxing rings. And people don't understand. The wrestling ring, as you know it, with the giant center spring, they didn't even come about until 1970.
Yep.
Think about that. Till 1970. Okay? Bruno had already been champion for 7 years by that point.
God.
Okay? Night after night, body slam after body slam. Those guys took a beating. And I got news for you. Here's the funny part, Adam. You think that something like that would have killed them. Guess what? They all lived to be in their 80s and 90s.
Yep.
All of them. Even superstar Billy Graham, who's still around, thank goodness.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Who did enough steroids, to jack up a circus elephant. He's still around.
Yeah. Man, them steroids, they're killer.
Built like an ox, too.
Oh, yeah.
Look at a guy like Tony Atlas. He's got 30-inch arms. He can't put his arms down. Crazy. And he's 70 years old? 70, something like that. That means early 70s at least. But the point I'm trying to make is these guys today, if they had to get slammed on a boxing ring, they'd be out of commission for 6 months.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're out of commission just if they hit the turnbuckle the wrong way. And by the way, the turnbuckles are a lot more padded now than what they were back then as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the turnbuckle was before was largely duct tape with a piece of foam under it.
That's it.
And that was it.
That's sufficient.
And if you ever take a look at some of those old pictures of Madison Square Garden back in the 50s and 60s, the turnbuckle may have been as big as my fist.
Yeah, if you
now they look like pillows.
They do. In fact, I think the guy who was going to do Warrior Pro with me, he was talking about like getting memory foam and stuff to go underneath the ring. I was like, what?
No.
I mean,
that's crazy.
It's already. It don't kill you to take a bump to begin with on the ring. Memory foam, that just did not make no sense to me whatsoever.
It's craziness. So you got an uncle and a dad in the business briefly. So when did the wrestling bug bite you?
So
and how did you go from legitimate MMA and karate into wrestling? Other than, was it just following your brother?
I was my brother was doing it, and the guy's like, take a bump, and I took a bump, and then like he said, well, we can work on it or whatever. And then we watched wrestling. We always backyard wrestled, so I knew like when someone picked me up for a body slam, you're like shaking your head, no, don't body slam or whatever. And so they were heads over heel for all that stuff. So, anyways, my brother, he wrestled there, I think 1 or 2 shows or something like that. We had a fallout with them. And then it just seemed like every time my brother had tried to get back to wrestling, even recently, it's just pretty much, it's a no-go for him. I think recently he tried again because he was going to handle Warrior Pro with me and stuff, and he got COVID. And so he's like, man, someone's just telling me not to do this. So, wow. And now he's got health issues and all that stuff. But I always felt like I owed it to him because that was what he wanted to do. And he always talked about fixing the business and stuff. And I see where he lost the love and the passion for that. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I saw the opportunity for it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to do this. So I wrestled in the business. I wrestled on and off for a good 17 years, something like that.
Who'd you work for?
Multiple independent stuff like MCW in Mississippi, GCW down here in Jellicoe. It's little off stuff. Some people will be having little fair shows, and I'll ask them, hey, you want me to come in there, wrestle for you, et cetera, et cetera. And so, it was that for a while. And then at some point, someone said, why don't you try out for WWE or something like that? And I was like, it didn't make sense to me to want to try for WWE. It's like, why would I want to go there and become a movie star whenever I'm trying to sit here and be a legit wrestler?
Yeah, well, that's a valid point. That's a really valid point. There are people who want to go there just for that reason. If you ever doubt that, Adam, take a good look at NXT and look at some of the women there. They're clearly not wrestlers. They're actresses for playing wrestler. They want to be models. They want to do centerfolds. They want to be the next it girl or whatever. And even the guys, some of the guys, I won't say all, some of the guys have that same intention. They want a casting agent to pick them up.
Oh, yep.
And if you want to be an actor, I have no problem with a guy that wants to be an actor, but don't use wrestling to do it. Go to acting.
That's what they do. That's the thing, is they skip acting school and they use wrestling as the go-to. And I absolutely hate it.
Let's talk about that, because you and I agree. I will tell you, I don't like it. I think, here's the thing, Adam. I think that does more damage than people like you.
Right.
Okay? Here's the thing. People are saying Adam Perilloux is doing damage to the business by trying to make it real. I say these people are making the business look bad because they're not part of the business. They don't want to be part of the business. They're making the business look bad. Oh, if you want to become an actress, become a wrestler first, because it'll give you TV experience. Yeah. And it'll show your good side. It'll show your range of talent, whatever the case may be. Look at Alexa Bliss. You look at her. I don't want to, But I've had these conversations privately with people, and I've had them publicly with people. And I've had people say to me, you're just too old, Ange. And I got to say something about that. I would have said, you know what, you're right. But the two guys, and this is going to be a shout out to them because they don't know this is coming. The two guys that made me a fan again were Dan Sebastiano and Benny Scala, the BS Express. And I'm going to tell you how they did it. They used to work for me on Wrestling with the Future. Mm-hmm. I was the disgruntled old fart on the show. Okay? I gave my show to Benny and Dan. I gave them the show. Dan and Benny in the ring. Take it. Go. Okay? And I took Wrestling with the Future and I sat it on the shelf for summer vacation.
Right.
And I said, when I come back, I'm going to come back myself. I'm going to come back strong, and I'm going to come back with a take no prisoners attitude. Interestingly enough, the first guest I have is a guy who thinks the same fucking way. Adam Perilloux. There you go. Isn't that funny how things worked out?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me that wasn't divinely inspired. So let's talk a little bit about this roster. I'm sure you've got to have people interested in working for you.
Oh, I do. And like I said, most of them they come from different backgrounds. So just because they came from MMA, don't make them a shoot fighter, because they're still going to learn the profession of wrestling. So it's not like they're going to come here and be kicking people's head off and all that stuff like seeing MMA.
Right.
Like I said, this is why we put rules and certain things in place. And again, could or could not be a work. I don't know. That's up to whoever to decide.
Exactly. And I love that. And he says it so nonchalantly. He says it so cavalierly. Well, maybe it's a work, maybe it's not. We'll see. We'll let you decide. And that's not a bad idea, but that could also be a dangerous idea. Well, letting people let's talk about that. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think because where we put the time limits in place and all that good stuff, and everyone here, like they know when they come to Warrior Pro, we don't do the big heads and the egos. So we're all here for the same purpose. We like wrestling. We want to fix wrestling. Everybody knows it's a sportsmanship thing. So and I'm sure you're going to get those big heads in there, but the people we have in place are well equipped to take care of themselves in case someone goes into business for themselves, like it was back in the day. In fact, one of our guys, Malachi, one of the guys was saying something about it still being predetermined or whatever. Yeah. And Malachi's like, he challenged the guy from his company to come to Warrior Pro and fight him. And then
calling out other promotions.
Right. So then the guy he didn't take the challenge. He's like, well, my promoter won't let me do it, whatever. He said, well, you call your promoter and have him. He said, well, you get a hold of your promoter and have him let me come to your show, and then we'll take care of business there. And there you go. That was it. He just got blocked. That's just the way that's the block.
Man. Oh, forget it. That's crazy. That's business. That's how it used to be done. Perfect example. Perfect example. The NW. Here you go. The NWA back in the day. Lou Thez. All right. Yep. Way back in the day, Lou Thez challenged Bruno Sammartino for the unification of. Challenged Buddy Rogers before Bruno. Challenged Buddy Rogers for the unification of the belts. If Thez won, the WWF belt would be merged into the National Wrestling Alliance. If Buddy Rogers' belt won, the NWA disappears. And the WWF becomes, the Super Fed. Interestingly enough, part of that actually happened. Lou Thez did beat Buddy Rogers. And because he did and never wrestled him again, Vince McMahon and Toots Mondt made Buddy Rogers, they crowned him. I love how they do this. They crowned him. They crowned him the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion and broke away from the National Wrestling Alliance, forming the WWF, what we know now as the WWE. Enter a guy named Bruno Sammartino, who said, all right, well, let me fight Lou Thez. Let's see how this works. Okay? And that almost happened. But Sam Mushnick, who was in charge of the NWA at the time, said, no, we make too much money off of Bruno, so we can't have him beat Lou. And we can't have Lou beat Bruno. Because if that happens, we make no money from anybody. It's again the politics, how politics play. But they did something interesting. When the WWF became its own entity and broke away from the National Wrestling Alliance, they did face off against each other for one. It was a one-off, one time only, and it happened in St. Louis, Missouri. Sam Mushnick promoted it. The NWA versus the WWF. Both champions faced each other. Naturally, Adam, it was a draw.
Yep.
Okay, it was they went Broadway. It was a draw.
Yep.
And each champion kept their belt. But the fans in the audience didn't care. The fans in the audience said, "Oh, wow, Lou Thez and Bruno were going to fight each other tonight." See, they didn't say they're going to wrestle each other. They said they're going to fight each other.
Exactly.
So you know where I'm going with that. I just gave you the perfect segue.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly where you're going with it. Yeah, sadly, I mentioned fight in a comment a couple days ago, and someone said, "See, I told you it was shoot fighting." I meant to say wrestling match, but I said fight. But anyways,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, that's the thing is, I get criticism now because we call our belt the World Heavyweight Champion, and people's like, "Well, you can't be calling your belt the World Champion." I said, "Oh yeah, we can, because even though we're our own entity, it's open to anybody who wants to come try to take it."
Yeah,
I'm sure Malachi's got no problem taking on whoever wants to come try to take it.
Well, it's interesting. It's very interesting. Groups got away from that for a while. The NWA was the only one that I know of still, to even today, that calls themselves the world champion.
Right.
The WWE has the Raw champion, and they've got the heavyweight champion, but they don't call themselves world champion. If I'm right, and if I'm wrong, tell me.
No, you're right. It's all because they're within their platform. See, we don't care to expand. We don't care to expand outside of our platform. So, like,
exactly,
we've got other countries and stuff that's liking what we're doing. We're in talks with a lot of them right now. So once all that hits off, we also have a bigger plan besides what we're doing with Warrior Pro that will definitely fix wrestling for a lifetime to come.
Beautiful. So you have a platform, you've got a roster that you're building, you certainly have a loyal fan base. Where and when can we expect the first real show?
The first real
right now, it hasn't been a show, I don't think.
The first real show, well, before we started, when we tried the entertainment stuff, and I didn't like it, and I didn't want to deal with it. So, and a bunch of crybabies. I mean, if you ever found crybabies in your life, that's where they come from.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these people are pampered. But so we went out and we found some real life hardcore fighters, people who care about wrestling, people who want to be a part of wrestling. I think we were talking to some amateur mat wrestlers.
Right.
And they were telling me that they absolutely hated pro wrestling. And the reason being because after they go train so hard to learn how to wrestle, they got to go to faking it. And so all that went to waste if they want to go pro, because pro wrestling is your...
Hey, you know what? And see, I got to put my promoter hat on. A lot of people who watch the show know that I was a promoter for 24 years. And one of the things I always ascribe to, you take where you've come from and incorporate that into wrestling. You don't have to necessarily fake it. You just adapt to what you're doing. I'll give you a perfect example, Adam, of a guy who did that so successfully. He's still around today. Is a guy that I'm proud to say I know, Ken Shamrock.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Ken Shamrock did that so well that he cemented his legacy not only as an Ultimate Fighter, but as a professional wrestler. That's how good he was. Dan Severn, another guy. Steve Blackman took the world of martial arts and made you believe that he was the most deadly guy that ever walked.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he probably is legit.
He probably is.
You know? I want to run into a guy like that, you know, on a dark street one night.
Right.
Because Steve's a big dude. And he's a strong son of a bitch. You know?
Right. Well, you see, that's kind of like this is where we're at with Warrior Pro, because everyone has different backgrounds that's coming from this. So, and where we're going, where it's going to be a full contact and stuff. So you're going to see a lot of that where people will incorporate their MMA at some point. People will incorporate their boxing if they have boxing skills or whatever it is, whatever background they come from. But they will understand the natural process of wrestling. So you will get a wrestling match, but that don't mean they won't incorporate their stuff in it whenever they get ready to do their match.
So let me ask you a question. People watching this are interested in getting a hold of you. How do they submit? They give you their resume? Do they send you a tape? Does they say, you know, Mr. Perriloux, I want to work for you. Here's my pictures. Here's my video. How do they get this stuff to you?
Yeah, I don't care about your resume. That's what you've done, not what you're gonna do. All you gotta do is
an interesting way of looking at it. Good for you.
Send me a video of something just so we can make sure that you've got some training going on. And then that's it. Just contact me. You could DM me on Facebook. I mean, it's not hard to find me on Facebook. 6,000 other people has.
Exactly. I'll vouch for that. I found them.
Yeah. So
I found them.
All you gotta do is go in there. DM me. I always answer my messages. I mean, like, as we're sitting here now, my phone's dinging like crazy, but I've got it on mute, so it's not interrupting. Sure it stays dinging all day.
Tell everybody where they can reach you. Your email, social media.
Yeah, we do.
You have Facebook. You can Twitter, all that stuff.
Yeah, we have Facebook. My Facebook, my personal Facebook, is under Adam Perilloux, which is my promoter name, all that good stuff. My real name. We do have a Warrior Pro Wrestling page. It's called Warrior Pro: The New Breed. Excuse me. And then also you can reach me at realwarriorpro@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at WarriorPro7.
Fabulous. And if anyone's interested out there, you have Adam's info now. It's I will tell you, I will assure you and validate the fact he's a real easy guy to find. Because there's a lot of people find him they find him to bitch at him. They find him to compliment him. They find him to hit him up for a job. Trust me, he's an easy guy to find. If I can find him, you can find him. So the first match when are you hoping to have your grand, for lack of a better word, your grand opening? How far are you looking out?
We're looking at September 25th, Jeffersonville, Indiana, at the arena.
Fabulous. And where are you? Where is your home base at? Where are you based out of?
I mean, we travel everywhere, so we don't really have a HQ, but we base a lot of what we do in Tennessee.
Okay, so we'll call Tennessee your a ground zero for Warrior Pro. Okay. Just where we have some reference. And I lived in Tennessee for 15 years, and a lot of guys out there. And there's a big wrestling scene in Tennessee. I'll assure you, everybody from Terry Landell to, and not Buddy Landell, by the way, Terry Landell, who's a real scumbag. And I'll just call him out on the air. He's a scumbag. And I'm calling you out, Terry, on behalf of Jim Cornette, too, you prick. We don't like you. We do not like you. Anyway, so on behalf of Warrior Pro, on behalf of Adam Perilloux, I am Second Meaning Angelo with Wrestling with the Future. We will be back every Thursday. This is our new night every Thursday on our Podbean hub. It's WrestlingFuture.podbean.com and on over 250 outlets around the world. including 7 commercial radio stations and 2 television networks. So, on behalf of Adam, once again, Warrior Pro, Adam, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.